name is Adrian Nanchev, and this channel is all about championing hemp's use and bringing it into the mainstream conscience. So click on the subscribe button and click the bell notification right next to it for the latest uploads. Now, who are we? A lot of other businesses in the world define themselves by what they sell and who they serve. A business has to have a mantra, often 3 or so words or a phrase, that defines who they are and what their place is in the world. There's the analogy of, in the 1800s, the icebreakers would go into in Northern America or Canada at winter, break the ice from the lakes and sell it for food storage or for refrigerator or basic refrigeration in the 1800s. Then 50 or so years later, the ice factories come along, or 100 years later, the ice factories come along. The ice factories take water, freeze it, and then deliver it to customers. The people that were the icebreakers, who went into in the winter, went to the frozen lakes to dig for the ice, they were stuck in their way, and when the revolution came along, went from ice hunting to the ice factory, they were stuck in their way, and they were the ice farmers forever. They didn't say, this is a better way, let's do this. They didn't become ice factory owners. And then 100 or 50 years later, refrigeration comes along. So suddenly people have a little mini freezing factory in their home, where they can take the water from their tap and freeze it overnight into ice cubes, making the ice factory redundant and irrelevant. But the people who own the ice factories did not jump onto the next revolution, which was the refrigerator. Each of these different people, they allowed themselves to be defined by what they were selling, and they didn't allow themselves to be defined by something much more ethereal, something much more long-lasting, something much more human. We Want Hemp is defined by health, disruption and opportunity. Health, in the fact that hemp has a lot of health benefits to it, omega-3 to omega-6 combination proportions, the proteins in it, what hemp can do in the body with regards to apoptosis and beyond, how hemp can be used in helping things like glaucoma and diabetes, and help tackling things like leprosy as well, but epilepsy, that's the one. The hemp plant in different forms, whether chemical or seed or food stuff or processed, is very healthy for the body. So health, disruption. Disruption insofar as when we use hemp, it's a viable resource that can be used in manufacturing. It can be used in building homes and construction. This plant can be used for this plant has so many different purposes, so much potentiality behind it. People don't realise that. And when it becomes mainstream, and when we advocate it through grassroots effort, people can understand and appreciate, or begin to appreciate, how much more useful it is in the world. And the plant can change the status quo. The last thing is opportunity. When we change the status quo and we disrupt industries, a lot of people can become employed, a lot of jobs can be created, a lot of new industries that can be created. Biotech and science, innovations and industries that don't exist today can be created in 10, 15, 20 years when hemp becomes much more mainstream. Hemp can have a lot more impact on the world than just creating clothing and creating food. There's so much more to it that we are at the very beginning of hemp. I compare hemp to computers in the 1970s, where the technology exists in its very basic rudimentary forms. There isn't so much demand, but there is some supply, and the only real demand are the people, are the hobbyists, people that love it, people that have waited their entire lives for it, and or people that are so techy they're willing to work around all the difficulties and the technicalities needed to work with it. And at the same time, it's the problem. Hemp solves a problem, or computers solves a problem for the mainstream, but the mainstream aren't aware of it, of it solving their problem, and or they're not desperate enough and haven't exhausted all other opportunities, all other avenues, that the only thing left out of desperation is hemp, or in that case, the computers in that case. For example, accountants. And there's some accountants in the 70s and 80s that would have taken them days and days to create a spreadsheet, whereas they could do it through a basic program and input the numbers and automatically calculate their taxes or liabilities, income and all those, and cash flow, which what could take hours used to take days. And if they're not aware of that, they will never use it. And or if they're so exhausted and tired and fed up of doing it with a calculator and pen and pencil and paper, then they're not willing to try the computer. Similar today, if people aren't exhausted through different means, then they're not willing to try hemp as an alternative. Hemp has a bright future ahead of it. Health, disruption and opportunity. Or disruption, health, opportunity. That is how we define, that's how I and we define We Want Hemp. We're not stuck in our ways. This is a long-term company with a big vision to champion hemp's use and bring it into the mainstream conscience. So for day one of the revolution, because of circle of competence and starting lean, selling clothing through to the American market. That's just day one. Day one of a long way to go. So if you haven't already, subscribe and click the bell notification next to the subscribe button for the latest uploads, and you'll see me again soon. How cool is that?